Okay. Like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, June 20th at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we start off this evening's festivities with a roll call.
Supervisor Mark Hain.
Here.
Supervisor Jeannie Vogel.
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Wade.
Here.
Supervisor Derek Daniel.
Here.
All right. Next on our little agenda here is a meet and greet, and for the first time, we're not going to let you start. We'll start over here. Please introduce yourself, including Junior 1 and Junior 2.
Dustin Overbeck at 3818 Bayshore Drive.
My name is Zamir and
I didn't catch that, but I'll take it that they're with you.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Now we'll switch over here.
Okay. Craig Nellis, 4216 Highway 57.
All right.
Carrie Nellis, Sevastopol.
Dick Whiteman, 4108 South Country View Road.
Hughes Edel, 3986 Glidden Drive.
All right, and our videographers are never to be missed.
Derek Demise, North Country View Road.
Larry Chapman, Glidden Drive.
All right, well, welcome, thank you much. Public participation, anyone wishing to speak on a non-agenda item? And the answer to that is, hearing no one, we shall move on. Motion to adopt the agenda, I assume it's been properly noticed.
The agenda has been properly noticed.
Motion to adopt, please.
I will move to adopt the agenda for this evening, Monday, June 20th, 2022, as noticed.
All right, we have a motion by Linda, a second by?
Second that.
By Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Approval of minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting from May 16th, and also the initial Board of Review meeting minutes from May 16th. I think you've all had a chance to take a look at them. If there's no changes, a motion to approve would be appropriate.
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes and the initial Board of Review minutes for May 16th.
Motion by Derek, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. That's shocking. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right. Pending business, I'm going to propose that we move the pending business to new business first. Take care of Carrie and Craig, and if Adam shows up. Does anyone have a concern with respect to that?
Nope.
Okay. So since Carrie and Craig are first, we will start with them. Linda, you want a minute to kind of catch up with me?
So we're going to address Nellis's?
Yeah, we'll do Nellis first, and then Adam, if he shows up. If not, we'll delay it a little.
Okay, on Tuesday, June 7th, the Plan Commission addressed the Craig and Carrie Nellis request for a conditional use permit to establish a home business on a portion of their property to sell produce and handmade articles, perhaps hold some classes on how to make items such as bouquets and clarified butter, and using an existing barn that would be converted to a workshop and retail space. We had a lot of discussion on this. The Plan Commission unanimously supported the Nellis request, and that was based on that the land use staff report had no negative comments and also supported the request. We also felt that it was very similar to the Hoffman request a few weeks earlier to establish a Christmas tree farm, again, utilizing their agricultural property. We have local entrepreneurs here, a family affair, which would help support our local economy. We felt that it fits with the agritourism goals that we had in our updated comprehensive plan. And again, they were utilizing an existing barn, an existing structure to help preserve that rural agricultural heritage. They plan to keep the acreage in production We felt it was consistent with the town's goal again to promote and save the rural ag landscape. It is on the highway, so we did talk about traffic. But traffic in Door County is just a given, whether you're on 42 or 57, you're going to have traffic. So Carrie Nellis did indicate that they were going to do, Leo Zipper called them Burma shave signs, so you kind of get some advance notice, you know, carrots, eggs, so you know that something's coming up ahead for a business. We also, I believe there was approval from David Nielsen at the DOT. That was one of the conditions to make sure that the highway.
He said he has to get back to me later in this week because his supervisor is on vacation until midweek.
Okay, so that was one of the conditions, I believe, of the comprehensive plan, or the plan commission. Let's see. So positive report from the county, existing, consistent, and I think that's about it. So I don't know if the Nellises wanted to add anything to that. We were provided with the entire packet again from the land use department. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that?
One thing that they brought up that was in question, that didn't really get clarification is, part of the plan is, talks about selling things that are produced directly on the property. We own some property in Forestville that's also ag land, and we would like to use some of that to supplement, say, for our animals with hay, and things of that nature. So, or firewood, maybe to sell firewood from the Forestville property. That was brought up, but they said that's a good question, and that's where it kind of ended. So just to bring clarification with that. Did you find anything else? So.
Did you recall Brett's comments today? I didn't print
Yes.
it, because he answered that question.
Right. There was a question floating around as to whether you needed a Wisconsin commercial building plan review and permit from them. And so I talked to Brett earlier today, and I also copied the Nellises that he was under the impression that it was or retail sales for the general public, and it's not. For agricultural uses to be exempt from the commercial code, the owner needs to be producing 90% of the products which they sell on site. So buildings and structures that are on farm premises and used exclusively for farming purposes, that they would not need a commercial building plan review or permit. So substantially all means at least 90% of the commodities were planted or produced on the farm premises.
Okay.
So the commercial code would not apply to the building used for retail sales in that instance.
So out of every 1 pound of beans that you sell, 10%, you know.
Yeah, I understand, so that's good. Thank you for researching that and getting this clarification.
Yeah. I also saw something out there that a building that is 25,000 cubic feet or less is also not subject to commercial plan review. So I didn't have the measurements of your building, but I kind of calculated it out that, what is it, like 25 or 30 by 60, something like that.
Less than.
And as long as you didn't go more than 12 feet high, you would be within that 25,000.
Thank you.
I had 2 notes from the meeting that I attended, Linda. One was there was a question about the sanitarian and the porta potties. And I think you had, go ahead.
So I talked to him and he said that they don't regulate porta potties, so if the town wants you to put a porta potty, that's fine, but we still have to have our bathroom available because they need a place where they can wash their hands with soap and water.
Oh, okay. Which would probably be satisfied if you had a, one of those stations that you see it. Yeah.
Or even one of the family porta johns.
Yeah,
Actually have the
where they have
same
that
side.
facility there. Okay.
So they're not then subject to ADA
No.
either, okay.
Not at the state level.
And I did talk to David Nielsen today, and the person that does the on-site inspection of the access way off the highway was not available either. So David has not, has absolutely zero opinion at this point as to whether or not they'll approve the access or not. But hopes to have that next week. So if in fact the board decides to move ahead with this, we'd have to condition it upon, obviously, DOT approval.
Yep.
And then if you want to include the sanitary issue as well. So, does Derek or Mark or Jeannie, any of you have any questions?
Nope.
No. I leave it in your trusting hands to address the DOT and sanitarian.
Okay. So are you looking for a motion, or?
That would be a.
Okay, I would make a motion that we support the Nellis request for conditional use permit, our support to the Door County RPC, to establish the home business as outlined in their application with all of those points. And based on the conditions that I stated earlier, that was the reason, those being the reasons for the town's decision, that it is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, and that the concerns or objections we might wish to see would be subject to DOT approval, using the driveway for a home business, subject to the sanitarian, his recommendation for restroom facilities. Signage would be as approved, again, by Door County Land Use. And I think that was about it.
I would second that, which I normally don't do, but I would amend it to include that they require a portable at the facility. So.
It'll be up to the RPC, I guess.
As a condition. So you're agreeable to the amended version?
Well, should we leave that up to the sanitarian?
Well, the sanitarian said they can have one, or they still need to use the house, but I think a portable would be the appropriate thing. And I believe we had that with Hoffman's. I could be wrong. So, but you don't have to necessarily agree with me, but that's. A
I
or nay?
thought the sanitarian frowned on portables when not necessary.
Really? That's news to me. So, if you choose not, that's fine. You want to just.
I'm
leave it?
okay with it because, like I said, the RPC will discuss that, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're gonna have to meet all the
Right.
standards
Yep,
of theirs
yep.
anyway.
As long as they
Okay.
meet the standards,
That's fine.
I'm
All right.
okay with it.
All right, then, anyone else have any further discussion on this?
So is that still a second?
I'm still the second.
Okay.
So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right, we will send a letter off to the RPC with
Good
those
luck.
2 conditions.
And we already have a hearing date, correct? July
7?
7th? Was it July 7th?
I think it is.
Be a Thursday.
I think so. So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Adam, we moved everybody up to make it a little easier, so if you're wondering why our meeting schedule did not go that quickly. So I haven't taken care of the Nellis. Then let's move on to Adam, and I will toss the ball back to Linda for a minute.
All right, likewise, the Sevastopol Plan Commission heard this at its meeting on June 7th, right here. Mr. Drossert was available and explained his intentions that went along with the entire packet that we received from Land Use. So after much discussion, it was a unanimous by the Plan Commission to recommend approval of Mr. Drossert's request to rezone portions of his parcel to commercial use in country, or to commercial use and small estate districts as outlined in his application. We did have some conditions after our discussion. We felt that it was consistent with our comprehensive plan, with our plan to be commercial along that 4257 corridor. The conditions and concerns were DOT confirmation on location of the driveway, that I'll jump ahead here for a minute. The mixed commercial, following discussion, we talked about changing that from mixed commercial to commercial center by the Plan Commission. Actually, our chairman brought that up. Anyway, whether it's mixed commercial or commercial center, we would not exceed 500 feet back from the center line of 4257. That the access to the professional buildings would be by private road between the mixed commercial or commercial center area and the small estate districts. That the architecture would be consistent with neighboring professional service buildings. So for example, Blahnik's investment building across the street there, next to north of Grandma Tommy's. Subject to the sanitarian's approval. Lighting and signage, again, would be dictated by the county. A commitment by the developer to retain as much rural aesthetics as possible as to landscaping and screening and green space. Let's see. I think that's about it. We felt that it was consistent with the plan, and we were in favor of it because it does fit with our future land use. Professional service building or professional service businesses is something desirable. It would also add to the housing market with those residential lots. I think that was about it. Derek, am I missing anything? You are on the Plan Commission.
I don't think so.
Again, at the end of that discussion, we did talk about, rather than mixed commercial, changing it to commercial center, because mixed commercial allows certain things that commercial center does not. So we felt that the commercial center would be more in keeping with our future land use for that area.
And it is something that is allowed underneath our authority. So we do not have to accept mixed commercial. We can recommend to them that commercial center. I will tell you, since Linda mentioned it, I brought that up. And although I have a lot of confidence in Adam, and he's certainly been very forthcoming throughout his entire process, the mixed commercial option gives him some latitude that if something should change outside of what he anticipates or we would anticipate, it could allow for some uses. By going with commercial center, he can still achieve everything he wants to achieve, but it gives the town just a smidge more control over what could appear there given circumstances. His primary concern was the ability for him, if he wanted to put a small shop on the back of one of his buildings, and that can be accomplished in commercial center. So it's not necessary for mixed commercial. And as I understand it, in conversation with Adam, that was really generated through Peter Hirth, who did the layout work for Adam. So I expressed to Adam my feelings on this and what recommendation I would make to you as the board. Otherwise, I think I'm chiming in ahead of any vote, but I think this gentleman's going to do a good job for us. I am supportive, but I look forward to.
We also felt that the 500, well, I think we started off at maybe 350, 400, but being on the highway, there's a 75-foot right-of-way already from the edge of the or from the highway. So I think we were all pretty good with 500 feet and try to keep that consistent along that corridor. So as requests for conditional use or zoning changes come up, because I can think of some more that are probably sitting out there right now, that 500 feet would be a consistent number along that corridor, maintaining some open space or green space in the back end of those parcels.
I'll add one more comment, because I did talk again to David Nielsen with respect to the one issue that came up at the Plan Commission meeting was where that road was placed, and if you looked in your packet, you initially saw a map where there was a hand-drawn red access, which was north of the Lobenstein-Busser property line. And so the issue was that this be moved back to that property line, which is the recommendation from the DOT, back to Adam. And David went so far as to also include the fact that there should be an easement in place for Steve to access that when Steve's development reached the northern portion of his property. So in the interim, he'll use the southern access points at Teelands and eventually migrate up to using the shared, what would be a shared access on Adam's property, so.
I think we also had some differences between the county's future land use map and our future land or comprehensive plan. So if you looked at the drawing with the green and the pink, it indicated a bubble. Our comprehensive future land use map does not include a bubble, so that's why we kind of went with the straight 500 feet back from the highway.
So should we give Adam a chance here to throw his 2 cents in?
Sure. Well,
That's
first
good,
of all,
thanks. I'm just kidding.
first of all, thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time tonight, and I think you guys summarized everything beautifully. I do have a couple of updates, and including, I brought some more of those sketch maps that Pete put together from Bodwin's. So if it's okay, I'd like to share one to make sure everyone has the most updated version of what we're thinking.
Sure.
Then I'll come back to the mic so that everyone on TV can hear what we're talking about too, okay?
Sure, that'll work.
Oh. Yeah, I think I do this one here, right? Yep, okay. Oh, all right, thank you.
I'm good. Got it.
Thank you.
So this is that version, I'll explain a little bit more, follow along to you.
Wowee.
Oh, geez, on that pizza.
Okay, so just to kind of recap, first of all, I just handed out an updated map that was put together by Pete Hirth over at Bodwin, which reflects the access coming in off of Highway 4257, right on the lot line between Steve Lobenstein's property and mine. And this is consistent with what was approved by Dave Nielsen at Wisconsin Department of Transportation. As Dan already mentioned earlier today, we got an email confirmation from David earlier today confirming that this sketch here would comply generally with their requirements, assuming, of course, that Steve and I put together an easement for his access. And just to come back to that one more time real quick, Steve Lobenstein and I have worked together very, very well in the past. You know, he was the contractor who actually built the what is now Blahnik's Financial Services for me when I had my Century 21 real estate offices. So Steve and I have talked numerous times through this process, including Dan in on some of those conversations as well. And Steve and I will, you know, put together whatever is required to gain access to keep that corner safe. This map also shows that we will be removing the residential and the field accesses that currently exist and have existed for, you know, forever. So again, our primary focus is to make this safe. So I wanted to give you the update on not only what Wisconsin DOT has suggested and required, but also that, again, Steve and I are continuing to communicate very well. We spoke after that meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, and he and I continue to still be on the same page and absolutely no problems there. I guess the only other thing I'd like to update or clarify is, you know, again, I was requesting that we go to mixed commercial. And I know that we were back and forth between commercial center or mixed commercial. I think I'm fine with that. I just wanted to clarify one more thing though. So if we did build a little shop, that would require a conditional use permit. Is that correct?
That is
So
correct.
basically, after we get through all the zoning and everything else, once we're ready to build what we're gonna build, we bring you back the plan and submit for a conditional use permit for that specific, what will at that point be its own little lot, right?
For that one parcel, correct.
Okay. So, I think, if you guys are all inclined to move forward with it tonight with a recommendation, I'm fine with commercial center. It actually allows us some things that mixed commercial does not allow us, which I was kind of surprised about. But again, for what my intended use is on the property, I think we can absolutely make commercial center, and the small estate work, so.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to take any questions anyone has, address any concerns.
I did have one comment of David Nielsen's email of May 10th. He said it's currently a speed limit of 55, and that's 45 miles per hour, right?
Correct.
All the way to the mill.
Yeah, so
that too.
that was a point of clarification that Steve Lobenstein actually brought up almost immediately. So as soon as I got that email from David Nielsen, Steve actually called me before I even had a chance to really reply. But that is 45 from the mill Superica, from where those lights are, south past our properties, which actually changes that 1,000-foot access point. So right now, David is referencing that with those speed limits, they don't want accesses more or closer than 1,000 feet. But because it's only 45, the research we've done actually shows that accesses can be 800 feet apart rather than 1,000, which, I'm not arguing for more accesses. I just want the one access we're talking about, but it may affect Steve Lobenstein because where his current accesses are, where Teelan's is and right across from Grandma Tommy's, that is where they are currently, almost 1,000 feet from the access we're talking about anyway. So he may be able to keep those, I think, if he chooses to, but depending on his development plan, I'll let him address that more clearly with you. But I know it's a long-winded answer to your short question, but the short answer is yes, that is only 45, not 55, and I think that may change some of the circumstances around DOT.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the board have a question of Adam? Come on, make some up.
Dan,
All right.
we don't have to make things up.
Well, I thought maybe, maybe they were
He's always encouraging.
trying to encourage the staff here, yeah. Okay. Well, Adam, thank you for your info. I have no more questions with respect to this, so I will pass it back to Linda if you want to make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, that's fine. Feel free.
I will move to approve Mr. Drossert's Pioneer Corner LLC request to rezone portion of Countryside to Commercial Center, approximately 15 acres, and rezone portion of Countryside to Small Estate, approximately 17 acres.
Okay, we have a motion by Derek, second by?
I'll second that.
Second by Mark. To recommend to the RPC that we approve, not the RPC, this will be, yeah, that'll be RPC, to approve the rezone application as described in his request. Anyone have any further questions?
With the conditions that we stated
Yes,
earlier.
thank you, with the conditions stated earlier. Any other questions from anyone? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you and good luck. We will inform them of our support.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is that hearing also on July 7th?
Yes,
I believe they added you to the, didn't they add you to the July 7th hearing?
Yes, I'm on the same hearing as
As they are.
these fine people
Right.
here, so we're
Yep.
all set to move forward with them.
You get a chance to come back to Wisconsin frequently. There you go.
Yep, and soon much more.
All right, thank you. All right. So, moving back to our agenda here, we have review the road work and bids. And I know this came to you late. And it just didn't get to us in time, so apologize for that. We gave him a list of a number of different things to look at. A couple things he did not respond on based on the conversation I had with him. Either in his estimation, we would be basically wasting money to invest in any kind of work on a couple of different areas. So we honed in on the list that you see in front of you. As a reminder, we budgeted $400,000 for roads this year. The Whitefish Bay, West Whitefish Bay Road from County HH to Bluff. This is a pulverized existing asphalt grade, compact, and applied 2.5 inches of hot mix, 20 feet, and then shoulder with gravel. So that stretch, which was, I believe, a little over a mile, I think, when he checked it out, came in at $175,710. Choice Lane from County HH to Martin Road. I think he's got Martian. To Martin Road. No wonder we're having trouble with that road. It keeps disappearing. Grade and compact and pave 18 feet wide with a gravel shoulder, $39,661. And just as a reminder, we're doing this as we are going to pass ownership to East Martin Road to the orchard. Sequest, thank you, Sequest Orchard, all right?
Did they agree to that?
I've talked with him about doing it. I'm waiting for a formal request from him, but I believe that will be forthcoming. And I've talked to the various people that were concerned about East Martin Road, and I think they're going to be more than happy to travel 3 blocks and drive on a flat, nice surface. Country View, this was a very short section from 57 Haverly Road, where they were going to do an overlay. The road surface there was fairly cracked up, $34,879. Rip Road, Highway 57 to Weber. We gave them 2 options. The second one underneath is Highway 57 to South Brower. This was an interesting conversation because in the estimation of Randy Dvorak, who does the road construction, he believes part of our problem with that culvert is that the material that's placed when they do the culverts is different than the material that's underneath the roadbed. And the road is moving, not so much the culverts. And as a result, we get this dip. So he's trying to take a different approach on repairs like this, where he wants to cut back 100 feet from the culvert and then put a whole new base in so that that whole section travels with the road rather than just the culvert. At any rate, that's his philosophy on future culverts, but in this case, they would take care of the culvert issue as part of this process, putting down an 1.5 inch of compacted asphalt and shoulder, and then he would also excavate material with the culvert where we had issues there. And that came in at $79,706. The alternative, which I think probably makes more sense, is to take Rip Road from 57 to South Brower, where you would do the overlay, and still all we basically are adding here is the additional paving, because all the other work with the culvert area would continue as it would with the prior quote. East Dunn, this one was a real surprise. I mentioned to Jeannie earlier that Steve Estes asked me when we were going to pave East Dunn, and I told him that neither of us are going to be around when that happens. East Dunn from 57 to Plur Road. Now, this isn't even to Brower. Their recommendation was to do nothing more than to pulverize it completely. They would saw cut down the center of the road, not eliminating, but leaving the parking portions on the north and south side untouched, and then repave and shoulder. And that came in $281,000. So a significant chunk, 2/3 of our budget if we were to do that road. In addition, we had carryover from last year of Whitefish Bay, the paving of the parking lot and the concrete work. And I think you saw, I took a snapshot. They finished pouring the concrete there this morning. I don't have the final numbers on that, but it's around $40,000 for the 2. We anticipated less, but then the DNR came back and required us to pour concrete in that 75-foot run So they'll take that off of the paving, but we incurred the added cost of the concrete.
So 40,000 total for concrete and asphalt.
Right. Correct.
And is that coming out of our road budget or our town park budget?
Well, that's a good question. Last year, we ended up rolling it all over to the general fund.
Right.
So I don't know, we could push it either way. I'm not sure that it would really make a difference. So let me just take this the next step, which is, my take on it was in not knowing where we'd put the Whitefish Bay dock. But if we take that, we take Whitefish Bay Road, Choice Lane, Rip all the way to Brower, we end up roughly right around 400,000, which is what our budget is now. We could probably put some of that into the park. We certainly have funds that we could use from the federal government allotment.
Well, I added up, if we take West Whitefish Bay, Choice Lane, Country View, both Rip Roads, $438,000.
No, we don't do both.
We don't do both.
We
That's
only
good.
do
That
one.
would be
We
done.
only have to do one.
Right.
So
Right.
I can take out 79,000.
Right, take the 108.
So, all right, so then we could still put the 40,000 for the launch in there, and we'd still be good at the number you just indicated.
Correct.
And just hold on, he's done.
Yes. Hold on, he's done and hope for a large grant,
Uh-huh.
you know? 'Cause I mean,
Sounds like a good plan to me.
so that would be, I mean, if you go through all of this stuff, you have in there the concrete work, and you have the application that I put in, you have the highway. Oh, the other thing that's in here, just for an FYI, I don't know how many of you knew, but if the county does replace a culvert, and there's one on Town Line that's gonna be replaced with a 36-inch one, because there's flooding down there, then the town is eligible for county aid at 50% of the cost. So it's a $12,000 culvert, but it'll cost us about $6,000. So anyway, that's all of it. So to me, open obviously for discussion, that's what I think I'd recommend we do. Those roads, anyone have a different feeling?
So 358,527 plus the 40,000 for the parking lot, 400 grand.
It's kind of what I figured, we right around 400 grand.
Right around.
So, and an interesting thing on the back page, it says their quotes are only good for 45 days because the
Right.
price of pavement went up again since he did it. So, anyway, here and there. So if that's what you want to do, a motion would be in order, and we'll circle back with them.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion.
All right.
Do we need to specify the lengths? I have them here, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
As quoted, how would that
So,
be?
all right, so I make a motion that we proceed with the projects as outlined by the Highway Department for West Whitefish Bay Road, Choice Lane, Country View, Rip Road from 57 to South Brower, plus finish off the Whitefish Bay launch, if that's pertinent or not.
Okay, that's good. We have a motion by Linda, second by,
Second?
just to throw me, second by Derek. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Great,
good, done.
Sounds good.
Take care of that.
someone will notify Randy then?
I will let him know. All right.
Oh, I had one question.
Yes,
So in here was the Town Line Road culvert thing? We talked about culverts.
Yep.
This is coming out of maintenance, I would imagine?
Yes.
Okay.
there's one other one in here under road work or bids. It's called the confirmation of the client request for services between Cedar Corporation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, and what this is, Linda found these people to work with us. This is a study that we're gonna do to find out how wide we can go with Shower Road from WD into Cave Point County Park. We were saddled 10 years ago or whenever we did this with a narrow right-of-way, and there's all kinds of issues there with parking, vehicle access, emergency vehicle access, fire trucks, et cetera, et cetera. And after a series of meetings, the DNR came back to us and said, well, we assume you've got a 66-foot right-of-way, and you can use that, but oh, by the way, you have to make sure you don't unearth any Indian burial sites, and that you don't disturb any endangered species or endangered plants or flowers or whatever. So in order to do that, we have to hire an engineer who will go out and make that determination and then come back to us and tell us what we can do. And then in future years, I say years because this is going to be another expensive project, we'll try and garner some support from the county, since the park department is the primary user of this, to try and figure out what we can do in terms of widening that road. In the meantime, if you go up there, I've had a dozen no parking tollway zone signs placed about halfway in on Cape Point Road to the park. And we're having a painter paint large circular symbols on the driveway, no parking tollway zone into the park on both lanes, in hopes that we'll reduce the problem during an interim period. So this was a not to exceed contract for $3,000, and we'll get more information in the future. So that's why that was in there. Okay. Next item is committee appointments. And there are two changes to our committee appointments for this month. One is the addition of Mike, the re-addition of Mike Wolven to the Plan Commission. Terry Riker has asked to be excused after serving for, what, couple years?
Couple years.
And Mike, who was on it earlier, has asked to come back on, which we're grateful for, so we're going to be adding him. He was at the last meeting as an informal observer. And I've also talked with Ashley Stotts, who was our crew chief for our EMRs, and I told her of the change in direction that the Sturgeon Bay Fire Department, which we have a contract with for our fire services, has offered to let the Assistant Fire Chief, Kaylin Montevideo, act as our crew chief, which I think is good news, in that she will help get the group back up to speed, training-wise, also in the acquisition of the necessary supplies, et cetera. And so for the next 12 to 18 months, that'll be part of our fire contract without any additional cost. I think that's a great move that I think we'll benefit from in the long term. And so I've explained that to Ashley, and she handled it very well and is willing to help in the change. So those two things are there, and so we should probably just have a motion to approve those changes.
I'll move to approve the 2022 committees and members as updated June 9th.
All right, motion by Linda, second by?
I'll second
Second
that.
by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Oh, I saved the best for last. Take a deep breath. This is one of the more confusing projects that I've had a chance to work on. I think I sent all of you, hopefully you've all had a chance to read the tennis court reconstruction restoration bid. When we left this last month, we had just received a bid from Northeast Asphalt for $211,000 to redo the court after I reduced the size by one tennis court and/or two pickleball courts. I thought we were moving ahead until we found an item in the bid which was referred to as unit prices, which was $64 per cubic yard. So in talking further with the company to try and determine what this was, I found out, in fact, it was a contingency item. And basically what it revolves around is that if the base below the existing pavement is no good, they would have to then bring in new material to support the new pavement. And based on that cost, came in at $64 a cubic yard, and when you did the math based on the square footage, it came in around $46,000. So it was a very minor contingency, hardly.
In addition to
In addition
the
to the 211,000. Now, this never came up in the earlier bids, but at any rate. So I did have a conversation with the court designer, and in his estimation, he doesn't think it's an issue. He said typically in about 5% of the cases, they have to make some correction to the base depending on the ground in which they're going to do it. So it's possible you could put some sub-base down, it's possible you could put none down, it's possible you could put all of it down. The gist of it is we have to be able to account for that swing in terms of what's up. I also laid out in that memo where we stood in terms of budgeted funds, which is what we have from the town budget, our capital budget, funding from a philanthropic organization who remains nameless, private donations, and some leftover money from the sale, from the bartering sale of the park lawnmower. At any rate, and she did a great job with that. So what I basically did is I came down to two options, but as I reread this and as things changed over the last few weeks, I actually have a third. So we'll just kind of kick around option one. We can move ahead with the entire tennis basketball court project. If the subsurface requires attention, we could move excess dollars from the pavilion project, which we had earmarked $85,000 in our capital budget to do that. But as it turned out, with everything else that was happening with COVID and everything else, the cost on that item doubled or maybe tripled, as everything seems to. So we still have that money targeted in our capital budget. And out of that $85,000 though, we still have to pay for some unanticipated construction of the dugouts where they were knocked over in the storm, and one that needs to be repaired or remodeled. And that would be on the first base side. And I don't know if we got any estimates back on that yet or not, but it's not going to be half or a third of what we paid for the third base dugout. Anyhow, we're working on trying to get some final estimates and when that might work be done. So doing the entire thing, we used portion of that $85,000. Plan B was we accept the bids, we don't do the basketball courts, which is almost equivalent to the $46,000. We borrow the same amount as we discussed before, and we work with the lender to adjust our payment stream so it does not exceed the destination door annual repayment amount, which is approximately $21,000. The excess funds that we borrowed, since we're not going to do the basketball court, we leave them in our general fund and we don't spend them just in the event of the contingency. So if we had to spend them, we'd have it. The negative to that is that next year the tennis courts will cost even more to do, and we may or may not have the funds to do it at that time. So I went back to the vendor and I said, okay, if we delay this, as well as doing some other delays, they said between a $4,000 and $9,000 increase in 2023. So it doesn't get any better. Then we talked about how we could adjust our loan, and I talked to the state, the land trust people, a variety of different options, and there's a lot of flexibility there depending on where we want to go. But option C, which seems to make the most amount of sense, originally we were looking at borrowing $150,000, and then we had this issue of the basketball court to do or not do, and what do we do with the contingency. So I thought the best option might be to borrow $175,000, which, with the funding that we have, would give us enough to complete the entire project and yet leave us excess money that could amount to 50% of the contingency, if that makes sense. So I'm making the assumption that, worst case, half of the base under the paving would need to be replaced. If less is required or more is required, that's a toss-up. We can't make that determination until the pavement's gone. But I think it's a pretty good guesstimate or feel that if we do the 175, we can do all of it at once, be done with it, no delay to 2023, no more increased cost, and I think we have covered ourselves at least 50% of the contingency, or $23,000. If, I think I attached this page, the loan rates, did I? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if we were to borrow $175,000 for 10 years, the interest rate is 4.5%. That comes into an annual payment of $21,672, which is almost dollar for dollar the tourism reimbursement that we would get each year for those, to make that payment back. This is confusing enough to me without you having to listen to me.
We were supposed to be listening.
Yeah.
Whoops.
So, at any rate, inside, after these documents, you got copies of the tourism zone in terms of what we bill, what we would collect, their rules. I mean, this is all just background stuff in the event that you had any questions in terms of where we're at. But to me, we're at a point in time, either we move ahead with the thing or we just lock the fence and say, have a nice time. I think the $175,000 gets us out of the woods and covers virtually what I can't believe is more than half of the contingency. So, questions, answers, wishes?
Well, I just want to say something real quick. My committee, the Park and Recs Committee, one of their big things was keeping the basketball courts.
Right.
And doing them, so just so you guys know that was, especially Gary, because he's there, he sees it, they're very well used.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
Well, and I've heard comments too that those courts are not safe. There's like giant gaps and, I mean, anybody using it we're probably exempt on liability because it's recreational, but still.
We don't want to find out.
And I'm not sure that I'm in favor of piecemealing it.
No.
Just do the whole thing and bite the bullet. So you're saying that the 96,000 that we currently have for town park capital, we're not touching any of that for this pickleball thing, correct? We're saving that for the pavilion?
No.
We
Well,
have 96,000
sorry.
in our capital in our town park capital.
I haven't moved over this year's
Right.
yet. So we had 148, I want to say, that needs to be moved for 2022 yet.
So
For the
instead
capital.
of 96,000 town park capital,
Yep, you're going to add another
I'm gonna-
148 to that.
I'm gonna add 148?
That's what was in the budget, yep.
Okay.
So 244.
All right, and how much of that is going towards pickleball courts, if anything, and basketball?
114.
Okay, all right. And we do have quite a bit of, in our contingency fund. I know we're saving that for this building and something that could happen to that. 175,000, 10 years. That 21,672, that's our annual amortized payment.
Yep.
So we'd end up paying almost 42,000 in interest. Sounds like a lot, but
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's different options depending on where we go. The key here is that, and I haven't thrown that out either, but the key here is I either have to make a decision or they're not gonna hold their price. So
Right.
if I don't tell them tomorrow that we're either going ahead or we're not, they're not gonna hold their price and this whole thing starts again. So, I mean, in theory, if the interest rates get better, as you know, with the Commissioner of Public Lands, we can pay this off at any time.
that's what I was gonna say.
Without a prepayment.
Yeah.
And we could take it out and turn around and borrow it back. I mean, much different. Or if some wonderful bank comes forward and says, geez, I gotta have your money for less, we can take that option. So the Commissioner of Public Lands gives us the most flexibility because literally, if we agree to do this, I'll read a resolution that says we're gonna borrow this money and Amy will send it in and they'll send us a check. So it's, our credit's good.
well, and as far as that payment and anything we borrow can be over and above our levy limit, does that qualify? Does this project qualify for that?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Anything that we
it
borrow
could be
would-
like 0.0001 cent or something like that.
Yeah, I mean-
Based on our $800 million valuation,
Right.
so.
I mean, we could borrow $700 million. I don't think I want to be here at that time, but
I'll just
It
say
would be
again,
different.
I'd rather not piecemeal it. I'd rather do the whole thing, do it right. If it needs that extra subsurface or subbase or whatever, do it right.
I agree.
Okay. So, a motion would be in order, well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, let's do that, and then I'll read the motion for the resolution for borrowing, which right now I can't lay my hands on, Amy.
Okay.
And just for clarification too, so we're paying the Door County Tourism Zone 20-some thousand to do our bookkeeping, but we're also getting reimbursed from Destination Door County for that, whatever that amount may be. So that's a wash.
Correct, yeah.
We're
this
not
is-
getting an extra 25,000, it's a wash.
And that's a good point. Thanks for mentioning that, because I should mention it if anybody's wondering what's up. And some of you may have heard this from us before, but under the revised room tax, going from 5 to 8%, it requires that the town pay for their fair share of the operation of the Tourism Zone Commission. And whereas that was paid for out of Destination Door County before, it's now the responsibility of the town. And that's gonna cost us roughly, right, $20,000 a year, may go up a little bit as we move forward. However, Destination Door, because it now has these extra funds, has agreed that they will reimburse the towns for a portion or all of those fees if those fees, those dollars, have been spent on things that drive tourism or enhancing public parks, et cetera. This qualifies, and so it's almost a wash. We have to pay the 20 grand no matter what, and each year after Tourism Zone, when we submit our payment, will reimburse us for the payment. So it is, we're gonna end up with the interest, I guess, so to speak. But if we didn't make the move to borrow the money, we would pay the $20,000 and recapture nothing. So it is the right tool, and I thank you for that, because you came up with the idea. So it was a great idea, because otherwise, the other business communities like Bailey's Harbor, Fish Creek, they all have business associations. And the money that we're talking about here, they would spend on fireworks, and they'd spend on their parks and their promotions and parades. We do not have a business community, so the money would just be wasted if we didn't try and recapture it. So hopefully that explains it. Anybody has any questions, feel free to call me after the meeting. So, okay, so if you agree, we'd need a motion to approve moving ahead with this project. And let's call it option C, borrowing 175.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I'm really not supposed to make the motion.
No, okay.
Yeah. I'm supposed to let the board make the motion.
Well, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it, makes a difference to me.
All right, I move that we proceed with what we have identified as option C, borrowing $175,000 for 10 years at 4.5% from the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands through the state of Wisconsin to do our pickleball, tennis court resurfacing rehabilitation project and any other costs associated with that. Do we want a not, we don't really know how much we're gonna
No,
spend.
let's
So
leave it where, we think we know
So-
where we're at.
pursuant to the bid form, which may or may not go up or down.
Okay, we have a motion by Linda. Does anyone want to second it? If not, I will.
I'll second it.
Huh?
I'll go ahead and second.
All right, second by Mark. Any other questions relative to this? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for that. Now, for the purposes of borrowing, we're required to have a resolution, and I'm required to read this resolution, so bear with me. Town of Sevastopol Resolution 2022-05, the borrowing of funds from the Board of Commissioners of Public Land for the tennis pickleball court restoration. We, the undersigned Town Board of Supervisors of the Town of Sevastopol in the County of Door, Wisconsin, in accordance with provisions of the Chapter 24 of Wisconsin statutes, do hereby make application for loan in the amount of $175,000 from the trust funds of the state of Wisconsin for the purpose of financing reconstruction of the tennis/pickleball courts in the town park. This loan is to be continued at a term of 10 years from the 15th day of March preceding the date the loan was made. The loan is to be repaid in annual installments as provided by law with an interest rate of 4.5% per annum. We agreed to the execution and signing of such certificates of indebtedness as the board may prepare and submit, all in accordance with Chapter 24 Wisconsin statutes. The application is based upon compliance on the part of the town with the provisions and regulations of the statutes referenced to and set forth by the following statements, which we do hereby certify to be correct and true. The meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Sevastopol in the County of Door, Wisconsin, which approved and authorized this application for a loan, was regularly called at a regularly called meeting held on the 20th day of June 2022. At the aforementioned meeting, a resolution was passed by a majority vote of the members of the Town Board approving and authorizing an application to the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands, State of Wisconsin, for a loan of $175,000 from the trust funds of the State of Wisconsin to the Town of Sevastopol in the County of Door, Wisconsin, for the purpose of financing the reconstruction of a tennis pickleball court in the town park. That, at the same time and place, the Town Board of the Town of Sevastopol, by majority vote of the members, adopted a resolution levying upon all the taxable property in the town a direct annual tax sufficient in the amount to pay annual installments of principal and interest as they fall due, in all accordance with Article 11, Section 3 of the Constitution and Section 24.66, Paragraph 5 of the Wisconsin statutes. A copy of the aforesaid resolution to be certified by the clerk, adopted at this meeting and recorded in the minutes of the meeting accompanying this application. A statement of the equalized valuation of all taxable property within the Town of Sevastopol certified to the clerk accompanies this application. Given under our hands in the given under our hands in the Town of Sevastopol, County of Door, Wisconsin, this 20th day of June 2022, submitted by Dan Wolfel, Chairman, attested by Amy Flock, Clerk. Good work.
Thanks, John.
Thanks. I'm glad I don't have to do that very often. So is there anything else, Ms. Flock, that I need to do with this other than motion to approve?
Nothing right now.
All right, motion to approve resolution number 202205.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-05.
All right, motion by Derek, second by?
I'll second.
Second by Mark to approve Town of Sevastopol Resolution 2022-05. Anyone have any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Done. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate your patience. All right. All right, let's slip down here to get back on track.
Sorry for boring you,
Oh,
buddy.
I think we're boring somebody. Have fun at the Y tomorrow.
Thank you.
I
You,
will.
Dustin.
Thanks for coming.
All right. So you have to adjust that resolution.
I will, yep.
Okay, just so we're on the same page. All right, so then we have the financial reports, which you have the account balances for the month. You also have a copy of the budget versus actuals and the transaction list by date. Does anyone have any questions regarding that?
Since borrowing interest rates are going up, are accruing interest rates going up as well on our money market or not?
Have a chance.
For the LGIP, it is.
Okay, good.
They're slowly going up.
All right. Do you have anything that you'd like to add tonight, Amy?
Yes, we will be receiving our second ARPA payment tomorrow of $139,523. We have paid the third quarter of our fire dues to the City of Sturgeon Bay Fire Department. And we have received our first bill from the Door County Tourism Zone. And postage will increase on July 10th to 60 cents per stamp. So we will be again stocking up.
Are we running low?
Well, we have 2 elections and property taxes to
I
go
know
out
you
yet.
wouldn't go.
You
So
bought, what,
Last time.
$3,000 or $4,000 worth of stamps last year?
last year, last week I bought $1,700 worth.
Might as well take and save a couple bucks, you know? All right. Financial reports, a motion to accept and put on file.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasury report and put on file.
All right, motion by Mark, second by?
I'll second that.
Second by Jeannie to accept the financial reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Approved. All right. Everyone's had a chance to look at the vouchers, bills, and claims? Yes, a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills and claims of May 17th, 2022 through June 20th, 2022.
All right. Motion by Jeannie, second by?
I'll
Sec-
Go ahead, Mark.
I don't want to fight with you, Linda.
Okay, motion by Jeannie, second by Mark. You guys are confusing this tonight. To accept the financial report, vouchers, bills, and claims, May 17 through June 20th, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We are off to oral committee and commission reports. In your packet, you have a copy of the Park and Rec meeting minutes from April 27th. And you also have a copy of the communication technology meeting from May 4th, as well as May 9th. And I know that Ms. Vogel would like to talk briefly about some activity on her end, and then if anyone else would like to spend a minute or two. Jeannie?
Besides the minutes, just to say that the Communications and Technology Committee has interviewed or had a presentations by 3 internet service providers. We will have another presentation, I should say who we interviewed so far, who did the presentation. That would be Ensight, Charter Spectrum, and Bertram Communications. AT&T will be presenting to us at our next meeting on June 29th at 2 p.m. The committee used a questionnaire criteria form that was sent to all 4 ISPs, which they responded. We reviewed that last week. We will be studying that further because we had some additional questions after receiving their submissions. So we will be reviewing that because I asked them, the ISPs, to respond a few days prior to this meeting that's scheduled. The broadband, there is a broadband summit on Thursday, June 30th at 6 p.m. at the ADRC. I would highly recommend that all the committee members would be at that meeting. I think it may also be offered via Zoom. I have talked to my committee members. I hopefully look like they will attend or do it by Zoom if available. I'm asking the board members here also to attend this meeting. I think it's really important that everybody have knowledge regarding the movement of the whole broadband push that is going on in the county, and there's going to be several speakers filling the different townships in on what's happening, what to do, how to move forward. Sevastopol has really done a good job, I believe, in being on top of this, And there's other towns that haven't even formed a committee yet. So I think that we're moving forward at a good pace. There's a lot of dollars out there in grants that we hope to be able to capitalize on. So again, if you can attend, that would be very much appreciated.
Any updates on the current grant applications other than this month? Anybody heard any
No,
inkling?
there's not been anything from the PSC yet, no.
June 30th.
For everyone that may have forgot, we applied for a grant to provide internet.
Charter did.
Charter, yeah, with our charter and us, to supply internet in selected areas in the town. And we are waiting anxiously to hear the results, hopeful results. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak? Sure.
Okay, so the Door County Tourism Zone, we had our annual meeting last week, June 16th, so I will just quickly highlight that. Let's see, total room tax revenue compared to 2020, we were at $4,781,000, and for 2021, $7,280,000. Revenue by property type, resorts and hotels. Now, this is revenue, this is room revenue, not room tax revenue. Hotels and resorts amounted to about 72.5 million, and homes and cabins amounted to 40.5 million, for total room revenues of $131,840,000. When we started this in 2008, we had 729 permitted properties. We now have 1,375. The growth obviously has been in private homes and cabins. Sevastopol, the number of permits, we are 6th out of our 19 municipalities as far as the number of permits issued. We are currently, as of the end of 2021, 86 permits. I brought this up at the meeting because we were provided with statistics on available units versus occupied units, and then also the average daily rates. And those statistics are somewhat distorted because hotels and resorts are counted by room. So a hotel would have 100 units or 50 units or whatever. And individual house or cabin is counted as 1 unit. So even though they might have 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, they're considered 1 unit. So that kind of throws the numbers off when it comes to occupancy and also the average daily rate. So, for instance, a hotel motel might be at $150 average daily rate. A home is at $300, but they've got 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms in there. So there's a little bit difference there. They're still experiencing, the tourism zone is still experiencing some issues with the marketplace providers, such as Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, and their accountability, identifying where the property is located, applying the proper tax, and getting it to the tourism zone. They're kind of like, they conduct responsibility, they will, and of course, reaching out to these mega corporations, it's quite difficult. But Juliana Boehm is our new administrator for the tourism zone, and she does an excellent job. So Kim Roberts retired or went to another position, and Juliana is doing a great job in her place as well. The audit was nice and clean for 2021. We have an outside CPA firm that does that. According to the latest report from the tourism zone, April of 2022, I counted 42 properties in Sevastopol. So I'm hoping we have 42 licenses issued out there.
We have 50 currently.
Oh, okay. Well, I wonder, and they all have their tourism zone permit number?
Yes, they do.
Okay, all right, well. And that's true, because there's more permits issued month after month, so that would be about right. The Destination Sturgeon Bay, we didn't have a meeting this month. I think the next meeting is in July, so I have nothing to report there. And Dustin Overbeck was the gentleman sitting at the first table here. He is Town Web,
Right.
designer, owner, operator. They are currently updating our coastal byway website. It looks really nice. I've seen some prototypes, so we've got some really nice photos, not only from our town, but the other towns as well. So that should be up and running fairly soon. Thank you.
Amy, do you know what number are you expecting for permits? I know there's a swing, but what's your guesstimate?
I went through and counted today. Hugh had done embedded hyperlinks in the spreadsheet that I was working off of. And when I go and click on some of these, they're not available any longer. So I assume that they're not going to be renting, or they're not on Airbnb or VO anymore. So I'm thinking that I have maybe 12 to 15 yet to get. Other ones have just pulled off.
Okay, so we'd end up with 65, and I think last year we had 72 or something like that, 79?
70.
Correct, but not everyone,
77.
not
Okay.
everyone was licensed last year.
Right.
So,
No, that's okay. We're still getting,
And also the Village of Ephraim is in the process. I listened into their meeting last week or whenever, and they are in the process of adopting an ordinance very similar to ours as to short-term rentals.
good. All right. Anyone else wishing before we move on? All right. So we have the Door County Board report from District 14 Supervisor Hugh Zettel. All right, Hugh, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This summary is for the May 24th County Board meeting that was held this past month, and also I'm going to just highlight some of the activities for some of the committees that I also represent on behalf of District 14, which includes pretty much the eastern side of the town of Sevastopol and the town of Sturgeon Bay north of the canal. A couple things just to recognize, the board recognized the Door County Child Support Agency led by Amy Miller. The Wisconsin Department of Child and Families awarded them for outstanding performance measured across kind of 4 areas. It was noted that Door County is one of 18 county agencies recognized by the state, and Door County is currently the top performing county in this area. So it's well done by Amy and her team. At the time of our meeting at the end of May, Door County's risk for COVID was medium, and I think there's been reports in the last week or so it's now kind of rated medium to high. Medium ranking means that masks aren't required indoors. If it were at high, they would recommend masks be worn indoors. Again, most of the cases are Omicron BA2. 75% of the county population is vaccinated, and almost 50% have received boosters. Testing continues to be made available at the Door County Medical Center and Bella clinics, but via an appointment. We had a number of resolutions that were approved by the board, most of them relating to grants, higher than the amount where the county board has to approve that. That included grants for a novel COVID-19 and stroke program to the emergency services team by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, Mobile Integrated Health. Donation by the Friends of Door County Parks, matching a county amount of close to $6,000 to fund a preliminary study of extending a Highway 4257 trail north of the Bay, Sturgeon Bay. We revised and agreed to a new licensing agreement between the Door County Maritime Museum and Lighthouse Preservation Society in the county that runs for 5 years. We transferred some funds to help beef up some backroom IT infrastructure that was kind of stretched in COVID and post-COVID as more remote activities took place. So we had to move some funds around and approve that. There was also some funds for the emergency medical services team. They're subject matter experts in towers, and communications is retiring, and so they have a new group called Omicron that's being brought on board to basically provide the subject matter expertise. And this is important because Omicron is going to be part of a study, conducting a study to look at the new infrastructure that's needed to replace our emergency services communications for sheriffs, EMS, parks, DNR. A lot of other agencies use those communication services, and there are some new technology requirements that need to be put in place by 2028. So they're going to basically do a study next year to see where we're going to need additional towers and support. Part of that's what makes that important is for a lot of that new digital communication technology, wireless technology, they're going to probably need extra towers, and they're going to need fiber to run to those towers. So we're looking at this very closely in my role on the broadband committee to make sure that any kind of infrastructure and investments synergistic to what municipalities might be able to leverage as part of their broadband activities. The other thing that took place is we approved changes in the administrative manual. So the county, as it continues its efforts to try to make sure they can attract and retain talent, they're making changes to their manuals to allow more flexible work hours, work from home, and some of the departments based on their location are just changing their hours so that they can end work earlier on Friday, so there's some more flexible hours that are set up, and that varies again by department, so that was approved. And then the resolutions were signed for basically a couple of the huge ARPA projects. We already did the first one early in the year where they approved the hiring of a broadband coordinator. That was where the first kind of chunk of ARPA money was used, and then two more were approved. One was the $500,000 for the Affordable Housing Revolving Loan Fund. That was approved, and that's done in partnership with an agency in Green Bay that's helping with affordable housing. And then another $347,000 to help with childcare support and facilities that is going to be paid and managed with United Way. So those were some of the large resolutions that were done. We've also added Jody Benzel to the broadband committee, and that was approved. And we also approved an agreement with a purchase of services contract with Emergent, who does the Phragmites non-invasive control. On the RPC side, the county board approved the denial of rezoning request for the DMERT request for the town of Sevastopol for the storage buildings. And it was also noted in that meeting too the novel use of a certified resolution by the town of Sevastopol as part of that process. And as far as activities relating to my chairmanship on the broadband committee, we had our initial meeting on the 5th and also one on June 9th. As Supervisor Vogel noted, the summit, broadband summit, is occurring next week, June 30th at the ADRC at 6 p.m. and I again encourage you to attend. We're using this as a way to get all the municipalities on the same page and get them excited and get them energized to help scope out broadband initiatives in their communities. As part of that, we're also highlighting some of the activities where the county is going to try to initiate tasks or activities to reduce duplication of effort by the municipalities. One of them that we did or talked about and approved at the June 9th meeting is the county to help implement and create a survey that can be used and rolled out consistently to all the municipalities. It helps provide transparency. We'll be able to coordinate better address location, which we know was a challenge that our communications and technology committee struggled with, both on their end as well as on the counties, and trying to resolve addressing. So that's one of the things we want to resolve, as well as do a better job of trying to make sure we can get as much speed testing done of performance of broadband networks. So that's one of the areas we're looking at. We are also recognizing and want to communicate to the municipalities that we use Finley as our subject matter expert with regard to any technical questions regarding broadband. That came up in several municipalities, including the town of Sevastopol, when the discussion of active optical networks versus passive optical networks came up. And I shared with Chairman Vogel of the Technical Committee the detailed engineering study by Finley, which had a great recitation on the technology. And there was one that came up in the review last week on charter on a specific technical implementation, which I've already notified the broadband coordinator to ask for Finley's support to provide us detailed information on that, so we make that available to you as well.
Great.
On the Judicial and Public Safety Committee, we've renewed the public safety officer agreements between the Sheriff's Department and the school boards of Sevastopol, Gibraltar, and Southern Door. And I had a chance to meet with Sheriff Sternard as part of my membership on the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee to understand some of the challenges and opportunities to support her department. Any questions from the town board? Be happy to try to answer.
I have a question. This caught my eye in the Pulse, Hugh, when I read the Pulse a few weeks ago, where it said that the county had donated $500,000 to a private nonprofit lending corporation. And I'm guessing that is the item under resolutions here where it's actually, it was ARPA funds, 500,000. I just don't recall the county making a donation to a private corporation, be it nonprofit or not. I can see making a loan, but, and maybe the Pulse had it wrong, it's not really a donation,
No, it's not
but.
a donation. It's money that'll be part of a revolving loan fund for
Okay.
affordable housing. And,
That's what
yeah, and I can get you the name of there's another nonprofit agency in Green Bay
yeah,
that works on
I'm
affordable
looking at it,
housing.
NeighborWorks.
Yeah, Green Bay,
Yeah.
yeah, Neighborhood Works,
Yeah.
yeah.
It'd be nice if it was, they'd clarify that, if the Pulse would clarify that it's a revolving loan.
Right, and not a
Yeah,
donation.
because it doesn't,
Taxpayer money.
it's not appropriate to say donation.
Okay, anyone else question? Thank you, Hugh.
Thanks, Hugh.
Appreciate your sticking around through all of this fun. Okay, license and permits, we have the payment from Door County Inspection, as you will see in there. And then we have this little thing called the Alcohol and Beverage Licensing Renewal Application. And our clerk treasurer handles that, so I'm going to give her an opportunity to tell us where we stand with all these things.
So we had everyone who applied last year apply this year besides Sweet Lily's. Sweet Lily's did not want to renew theirs. Everyone has come up to date with any fees, and they've paid for all of their license, so everything should be good.
And do you want to mention the most recent letter from the Department of Revenue, or you want to wait for a few weeks, months, or a year?
Well, any place that doesn't have a Class B or a Class B alcohol beverage license cannot have a lottery gaming machine in their facility or establishment. And the Department of Criminal Justice is now cracking down on it since they just passed new legislation. And so you shouldn't be seeing them in gas stations or anything anymore. Otherwise, they're going to be held liable for that.
The implication there is, it doesn't, we don't think it impacts us directly right now. It may at one location. But if these institutions, like a gas station, wants to be able to have those machines, they would have to have a full liquor license like everyone else, Sweet Willie's, et cetera, which could have an impact on your available liquor licenses where you'd want them dedicated to an establishment that brings real business or opportunity to the town. So we're gonna check into it. It's just a new ruling that Amy got a note on, but just something you keep in the back of your mind if things change at some point in time. So I just wanted to cover that. So we need a motion to approve these, correct?
Yes.
Well, who would like to do that?
I'll make a motion to approve
Alright.
the alcohol beverage, cigarette, and operator license applications renewals for a period of 7/1/22 through 6/30/2023.
All right, we have a motion by Mark and a second by,
I'll second that.
second by Jeannie to approve the alcohol beverage license renewal applications. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. These people you can go and get a cocktail at tonight. All right. So, let's touch on correspondence as we get to the end of this evening. So you have, oh, this is an interesting one. This is a notice from the RPC that Daniel Schott at DHM Farms withdrew his application after the Plan Commission meeting. And this was the situation where they came in and wanted us to basically rezone a chunk of land with no idea what they were gonna do with it. As you recall, we had a meeting in which we did a certified resolution saying we opposed the rezoning. They were due for a hearing, and the day prior to the hearing, they came in and they pulled their application. So I did go and ask Mariah and Tara just what that meant, and essentially it means he's starting from scratch. So if he decides to reapply for anything, it'll come back to the town and just start like he was never here before. So I'm sure that, as Linda indicated, I'm sure with everything else that's happened on that corridor, they'll be back, but hopefully they'll be back with a lot more information than what they brought to us the first time. So I think you see all of that in the package. Then they approved the people for the Christmas tree farm. That was in there as well. That was approved. We got a nice note. I have to tell you, it was the first positive note that I've received this year. I can tell you about the other ones, but this is the first positive note. It says, it's from Jeff and Brenda Lang, and it was regarding short-term rentals, and it says they had noticed that Ephraim was working on a short-term rental ordinance, and they wanted to thank the town board for its proactive, sensible stance on this. It appears other municipalities are falling in line, and I know there's at least another one in addition to Ephraim that is now pursuing this as well. So it looks like we led the county in this regard, and I think it's, from comments, it's a positive. So thanks to the Langs, thanks to Linda and Hugh, who put in a lot of time on that particular project, and their efforts were greatly appreciated. We have a payment in lieu of taxes from the DNR for a fast $300, and a variety of applications for people who need to put in riprap from the DNR and are in the process of installing and doing the necessary paperwork. And that completes the month's correspondence. Announcements: there's a Park and Rec meeting Wednesday, June 22nd at 6 p.m. That's this Wednesday. Open book, for those who are interested in your taxes, it's Friday, June 24th at 10 a.m. If you saw the published agenda, it lists incorrectly 1 p.m. It's actually 10 a.m. Our next board meeting is Monday, July 18th at 7 p.m. You don't want to miss them. They're extremely interesting. Informative. The Board of Review is scheduled for Tuesday, July 26, 2022. And we would appreciate anyone that wants to appear there to fill out the appropriate paperwork ahead of time.
Mr. Chairman, the Communications Technology Committee has a meeting on June 29th at 2 p.m.
All right, the Communications and Technology, June 29th at 2 p.m.
That's correct.
I don't know how we missed that. All right, I think that's everything.
I have one more announcement real quick.
Okay,
The Mighty Pioneers will be having their second annual baseball tournament this weekend over at the town park, starting Friday night at 5 p.m., running through Sunday at roughly 7 p.m. Everybody's welcome. Come on in and watch a lot of good baseball. If you want to help out on the grounds committee or in the concession stand, anywhere you want to put your time in, please come over. We'll gladly take it. It's good baseball. I want to toot our horn a little bit. Our 12U team has not lost in the last 3 tournaments. We won 3 in a row. We're going for 4.
Yeah.
So it's some good baseball if you want to watch. And we also have the Cubbies play Friday night. The Pony League plays Saturday afternoon, and the Junior Legion plays Saturday evening. So I believe we're going to have close to 30 games at the park starting Friday through Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
better order.
Come one and all.
There
And
you
what
go.
time do they start on Friday?
Friday, 5 p.m., 3 games, north and south field both, and then all the way through till roughly 7 p.m. on Sunday. Yes, Linda?
Do we call Tom Ash then for, to sign up for concession?
Yeah, that would work. Tom Ash, Tara Leclerc,
Tara, okay.
Brooke Tank, and Rachel Shortner are kind of running the concession stand. Obviously, I'm doing the grounds crew, so I'm gonna get your nails dirty when they come on in.
Hey, be careful. That's a hard working
I didn't say anything
lady.
negative, I'm just saying she wants to get her nails dirty.
I often see her when I go by.
We'll
working
definitely
in the
not
garden.
turn away any help.
All right, sounds good. So, somebody has an agenda item for next month, please get to me.
Oh, okay,
You do?
I do. So as I was out and about, oh, by the way, the yard sale was fantastic. We have people saying, okay, sign me up for next year, sign me up for next year. So, yeah, it went really well. It was pretty windy and chilly, and Amy and I.
You left the lights on in the pavilion.
Uh-oh.
We never turn the lights on.
Oh, someone did.
Ooh,
No. We didn't.
Oh, you mean under the pavilion or
Yeah,
in?
inside the pavilion, and
oh,
later on I got there the next morning.
Well, anyway, as I was out and about this weekend, somebody mentioned that, would the town think about having recycling events, such as the town of Egg Harbor has? I think every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever, people can bring their recycling. So, of course, the natural response is that we have to have somebody monitor it, otherwise we would end up with garbage or whatever. So, I do have a call out or an email out to GFL and to Pam at Egg Harbor to see what that cost is. You know, what it costs to bring in a
Jacksonport
dumpster,
does
just
that.
strictly recycling.
Jacksonport does that too.
Well, I don't think Jacksonport has recycling days. I think they just have theirs open all the time. They
Yeah, I think every Saturday or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's there.
Oh, is it open
I don't know if
anytime?
it's open anytime,
Well,
but,
then just
yeah.
go there.
That's funny because one person said to me, I tried to go to Egg Harbor, but they knew I lived in Sevastopol. So,
We actually investigated that a number of years ago, but I don't recall anything
so
other
I'm
than
not,
it came
I'm
up.
not
Well,
talking
we-
town-wide. It would be, you know, a dumpster parked on the parking lot at the
Yeah.
park for a Saturday morning or a couple hours.
Yeah, Leo and I did a lot of legwork on getting curbside pickup in the town. It's not cheap.
No.
Well, curbside pickup actually was really cheap in comparison to what you pay now, but
Well,
that's here nor there, so. All right, well, if you bring that back, I won't put it on the agenda. No, I'm
Okay.
just kidding. We'll
I will
look at
let
it.
you know what I
We'll
learned.
let you look at it. Okay, next item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn, although who would do that?
John?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
motion by Derek, second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.